Hello, mortals! I am the BookTube Goddess, the #1 drag queen booktuber on YouTube. I am attempting to analyze the story of Critical Role Campaign 3. We are on episode 3. If you haven't seen the analysis of episodes 1 and 2, they are in one video, so please check it out. And please like this video and subscribe to my channel, especially if you want to see more Critical Role videos. Last time I had listed one of my favorite characters of this campaign, played by Travis Willingham. Of course, I am talking about Bertrand Bell, that bloviating bag of wind who is refreshingly different than other characters, being an old man, and we don't get many players wanting to play mature characters, especially one with tons of character flaws. However, it appears, we won't know this until episode 4, but it appears that he has died in this episode. But we'll get into that more later. As usual in D&D campaigns, the story progression is slow. In most sessions, we get only incremental story development, and that is certainly the case here, though we do get closure on the first, albeit minor, plot point. We last left our heroes in episode 2, staking out a warehouse. What I didn't mention is that the party had split up. Now, this is something that is usually avoided when you play D&D. Most importantly, splitting the party means that some of the players are just doing nothing except watching other players. As a player, you want to play, and you've made time to get into your D&D session, and it's just not that cool to be sidelined on your gaming night. But that aside, splitting the party makes the party weaker strategically. If one group finds themselves in hot water, there is no backup. D&D characters are stronger together than the sum of their whole. That said, Critical Role has 8 players, which I think is a large party. When I've played D&D, I think it's usually 2 to 5. Though I've been in larger groups before, but that can make playing a little unwieldy, unless the Dungeon Master is really skilled and on the ball. Fortunately, Matt Mercer is one of those Dungeon Masters. Certainly after years of Dungeon Mastering Critical Role, he is used to handling 8 players, even when they split up. Anyway, we are at the warehouse, where it appears to be the center of some sort of smuggling operation. It is night and the warehouse is closed. All the employees have left. Oren, the small halfling fighter, has invisibly snuck into the warehouse. Unfortunately, it is pitch dark and he cannot see anything. We have a team outside the warehouse watching the back: Ashton, Fresh Cut Grass, Laudna, and Fern. And they call themselves Team Backdoor. As lookouts outside in front of the warehouse is Imogen, Bertrand, and Dorian. They call themselves Team Full Frontal. The last person to have left the warehouse is Danis, a little gnome lady who is the warehouse manager, and she is looking very suspicious. So Imogen and Bertrand leave their lookout post and follow her. It gets a little messy as we hop around among the different groups. Basically, Imogen and Bertrand track the gnome into an inn. Imogen is clocked by the gnome.
As we follow, are we a pair or separate? Like, should we take opposite sides of the street, or should we, I throw my arm around you?
in your head, I do not, I move away from you. And in your head, you hear, I don't know what the fuck we're doing. I just saw you run off and didn't think you should be by yourself.
Oh, we're following. Dennis.
Right, but should we really be, yeah, let's split step opposite sides of the street.
We drift opposite sides of the
Opposite
street.
sides of the street.
Right as this is happening, you watch as Dennis kind of stops in her stride and glances over to you, Imogen, and goes, I'm terribly sorry. We're closed for the night.
That's right, she knows.
Oh, it's you. I'm not at the... Oh, you know what? We are really close to your business, aren't we? No, I'm just in the area.
Make a deception check.
Just in the area.
Industrial part of town.
Okay, here we go. Okay. 22.
22.
Whoa. All right.
Dennis kind of looks at you for a second. You can see the eyes are wide and there's like sweat dripping down the side of her temple. There's a little bit of like a lip twitch to the side, and occasionally it's like looking past you in the alley before going, right, well, feel free to come by tomorrow or later in the week. But unfortunately, we're done for the night. If you're just wandering through.
Just wandering through.
All right, well, stay
and
safe.
And you said not to come by until I talked to your employee. Do
Right.
you remember what's going on? Are you okay? You seem a little frazzled.
Oh, well, I had to finish closing up, and, the streets get a bit dangerous here at
they
night,
do.
so I'm just trying to make sure that I'm making my way
Do you
home.
need someone to walk with
Oh,
you?
no,
Because I don't want you to be on
I'm
set.
very used to this entire, this walk. I take it every day, so,
All right.
but thank you. I appreciate it.
They lose the gnome and can't track her further. In the warehouse, nothing is happening. And eventually the entire party breaks down the front door and enters to investigate. They eventually find invoices and evidence to prove that it was Dennis all along who was cooking the books, involved in some sort of smuggling operation.
Orm starts flipping to that book.
Yeah, look, it looks, you're smart. It looks like it's like,
I just drift some.
it's, look at those lines. It looks like, it's smudgy almost, like it's not... Right.
Well, for you, be an intelligence check to just kind of
I'm gonna peer over at the top of Orm's head.
The lights kind of
Good.
spark and
Am I
flicker
doing
above
intelligence or investigation?
Intelligence.
19.
It looks like there have been initial findings in one handwriting, and then it looks like it's been smudged and then rewritten to downplay the amount of goods that are missing.
You're saying two different scripts?
In multiple different dates over time. Whenever there's any sort of indication of theft, it looks like there has been intentional use to kind of downplay the amount or retroactively alter the information within the book.
Okay, it's an inside job.
Yeah. And can we find anything else that has this secondary handwriting on it to prove that it's actually Dennis making those notes?
That's such a good idea.
I could keep looking through the desk, I guess.
I will say, because you are there and the desk at your disposal, there are a number of essentially invoices that have been signed off for other vendors and distributions by Dennis, and the handwriting does match.
So we take both of these books. Worst case scenario, we can take these back to Mr. Esteros and get 150 gold for finding the source.
Right.
We could, however, go over to the Weary Way Tavern and see if we can track her down and maybe take her out. Or take the source out, whatever it is. I'm not saying take her out,
For
but maybe
stealing
like...
some wool and linen? You want to kill? I'm just.
I'm not...
We can take her. We can take
Take her out of the tavern
Westeros.
and bring her...
And interrogate her.
Sure. Or stop her sources or something. I don't know.
Sitting in the street.
She did look... Mr. Bertrand is sitting in the street.
Is that safe? It's fine, it doesn't matter.
He looks
probably gonna fall asleep.
really disheveled.
Somebody should look into
I don't remember what I was thinking.
Well, we have evidence now.
We do have evidence. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. She seemed distraught when I ran into her, when I talked to her on the street. Like, she seemed like I don't know, like she was in trouble almost.
Was she carrying anything like it was a delivery or something?
Not that I noticed.
Like maybe
But-
someone's making her do this.
Maybe someone's making her do it. So if we follow her, maybe we can find out the greater source, you know?
We could confront her with this. It's a smoking gun.
That's true. Take this.
And take an invoice
Yes.
so we can show her we can.
Yeah, I'll
see
fold up an
the-
invoice, put it in the thing,
Okay.
put it in my bag.
And you saw her at the Weary Way?
Yeah.
When the party gets back together and shares all their information, they return to the inn where Danis was last seen. They finally are able to track her to a room upstairs and eavesdrop through the door and hear a conversation between her and some other person who she's reporting to. Apparently, Danis is being blackmailed or intimidated or somehow coerced into being part of this smuggling scheme.
Okay.
Because I'm light.
You do hear very, very faint voices from underneath the door that Fresh Cut Grass pointed out.
And does it sound like her?
Make a
Is that
perception check.
her? That's better. 22.
22. As you kind of hear some of the whispers, it's just hushed voices. You kind of get low right to where the crack under the door is and listen in, and you hear, I don't really have much else to say. There were some rough-looking folks, and an old man started coming around asking questions about deliveries, and I think I really... There was some woman that came in by a business. I ran into her again. I'm just getting uncomfortable. I think we're being found out. There's a pause, and a second voice, unfamiliar voice comes through. Uncomfortable because you cannot be trusted to keep your mouth shut. Because you are incapable of handling yourself. Tell me, should I be uncomfortable as well?
While I'm listening to this, I just start thinking she's in danger, she's in danger.
No, not at all. I thought you would want to know. Most definitely. And I thank you. Did you tell them anything else? A pause. Well, I suppose we need to adjust our supply lines. I'll look into it. Dennis, I appreciate your contributions. I will be no longer requiring your services. Oh, no.
Then they hear what sounds like she is getting murdered.
I kicked the door.
Oh, no!
I do.
So the group breaks into the room and we get a protracted fight. And this is always exciting to watch for D&D players because that's where people roll their dice to attack and make saving throws, and it's exciting to some of us.
At which point a voice from behind you goes, "Oh, interesting. Wasn't expecting more visitors." You glance over your shoulder and you can see by the desk, kind of up on top of it, some sort of a humanoid figure in the dark shadows of the corner. Cloak kind of wrapped around the shoulder, peering off the front end. You see this sallow, kind of pale dwarven face with a very kind of scraggly kept chin beard that looks patchy and nasty. Kind of greased hair pulled back. Just amongst the black cloak and clothing, it's just almost like a floating head. We're talking like the weird flashes of Pazuzu in The Exorcist. It's just kind of staring at you from the far corner, and you hear other strange skittering throughout the chamber. Children.
Oh, here we go.
Cool. And you start hearing the sounds of tiny feet and scraping claw. And from outside of the broken furniture, from the chest behind you, from under the table, from under the desk, it looks like somewhere in the neighborhood of about 7 or 8 of these small creatures emerge from the shadow. You see these kind of gray, leathery faces with toothy mouths and these jet black eyes. No nose. They have these hooded cloaks from tattered material of different darker shades, and a couple of them are holding blades, and you can't make out much of their form under the cloaks beyond these kind of clawed feet.
The main boss is a scary looking dwarf, and the dwarf calls forth a bunch of little demonic creatures called shade creepers. And there's a pretty decent fight. The characters are all 3rd level, so they don't get many hit points, so fighting can be kind of delicate. Anyway, in the end, it's handled well, and they kill the shade creepers, but the dwarf escapes, and they are unable to save Danis in time, and they just find her dead body. But they completed their mission, they found out who was stealing from the warehouse, they go back to Lord Eshtaroth, show him the evidence against Danis and her dead body, and they claim their reward. However, Lord Ashtaroth is now unsure if the culprits behind everything are the Ivory Syndicate, but they draw up a contract for the party to work with him on a more permanent basis, and we haven't gotten the party's name, but I'm sure we will next episode. So then after all that, the party retires to the inn where most of them are staying at, and of course they drink a lot, and they all go to bed eventually except for Bertrand. Bertrand inexplicably decides that he wants to go out for a walk. He has to relieve himself in an alley and is confronted by the dwarf who killed Danis, the big boss man. And the dwarf then attacks Bertrand, and it looks like Bertrand is dead.
Bertrand, you are wandering at a zigzag through the streets of the Spire at night. You gotta pee real bad suddenly.
Yup. Time to bless the dirt.
There's not much dirt in the way around here. It's kind of an open street with alleys and kind of you know the windowed wall's a little ways away, but you can hold it or find a quick stop.
Not at my age. I'm gonna find a quick stop. Otherwise it'll...
Okay. So you kind of duck into the side alleyway and begin to relieve yourself, and it's a genuine relief. A little bit of moonlight that's peeking through the alley. It's obscured to your left. You suddenly sense someone standing there. You kind of glance over and you just see a silhouette.
Do I recognize this?
Make a perception check with disadvantage, you drunk asshole.
Guidance.
Suck at perception. 6.
Can't make out any details.
I put my hand on my rapier hilt. Draw myself up to my full height. Say, Gertrude, are you, I'm sorry, friend. Can I help you?
The figure takes a step closer.
My friend is off around the corner. Can I be of some sort of assistance?
Takes another step closer.
I draw my rapier. I think that's close enough.
You sense this figure looking at you, and as they get closer to you, the full height of your stance, you can tell the figure's a bit shorter than you. Cloaked of hood maybe comes up to about your shoulders.
What'd you say?
Is it this dick? Is it the fucking dwarf? Is it the dwarf? Shorter.
Why don't we have a conversation? A little further in.
And you see beneath the cloak, there's a flash of metal as a familiar rapier glint hits the moonlight.
Further in. Where?
Points deeper into the alley.
Is there anyone with him beyond him?
No. The alley itself is maybe about 8 feet from side to side, and they're kind of right in the center of it. And they're about 3 or 4 feet deep into it, and you're about 10 feet deep.
Oh, I think I'm fine right where I am. Seems I have you at a disadvantage, sir.
Yeah. Sounded like a dice.
What could it be?
In a sudden flash of quick movement, unnatural speed, the cloak whisks and you feel a twinge of burning pain in your chest as you look down at the hilt of the rapier that's now up against your chest. You take 12 points of piercing damage.
Okay.
That's a natural 20.
No. No.
It is.
Right there. As you glance down at it and kind of cough for the blade withdraws again and goes this time into the abdomen, right up to the hilt, for 16 points of piercing damage.
Unconscious.
Imogen has some sort of dream that seems to show Bertrand moving on into the afterlife.
Imogen. Just then the wind suddenly starts to change. Harsher. Colder. You turn, and your eyes find a familiar sight. The horizon, entirely consumed in red. Swirling, hungry clouds filling the sky and coming fast. Silent flashes of lightning in the distance as you stand motionless, watching the streaks of dark crimson rake across the heavens above you, darkening it, reaching for you. Flora immediately flees, and you stand frozen, the storm reaching around and consuming you, buffeting your face, the wind growing louder and louder until you hear her voice. Run, Imogen. Run.
I back up and start sprinting towards my house.
You go, and you run, and you run, and you run, and you rush towards that country home which you now see darkened by the shadow of the looming storm as it continues to follow. You reach the door and tear it open, look over your shoulder to the roiling storm, and you see another figure standing where you were. At a glance, it's a man, older, refined, walking proudly into the tempest before he's gone.
What?
As you lie bleeding in the alley, your vision begins to blur. A coldness and a peace begins to come as the figure steps and blocks the moonlight and says,
So Bertrand Bell it is, huh? Good night.
and that's where we're going to finish tonight's episode.
Okay, so let's talk about Bertrand. Were we being set up for his death? If that's true, I'm not sure what to think of that. Maybe Matt and Travis colluded to set up this because nobody really just goes and walks alone at night carrying a bunch of gold. It's just weird. But some things seem to be at least a little bit set up. But my question is, why introduce a popular character and then kill him off at the start of the campaign? Maybe to set the tone early that nobody is safe? I don't know. If you have an idea, let me know in the comments. But if Bertrand is dead, and it certainly seems that way, but you never know, this is a fantasy world. But if Bertrand is dead, I'm really unhappy. If in the next episode Travis ends up running a new character that's young, then it kind of feels ageist to me that we can't have a more mature party character. But then again, I'm probably projecting. It also makes me angry that this lovable character who I've come to really enjoy watching is killed off so early. But hey, it does make me feel something. And that's pretty good for any storytelling medium, because it makes me feel more invested in the story. But the manner of his death, since it did feel like it was somewhat scripted or pre-planned, takes away from the enjoyment of watching a D&D session, since part of what makes it so interesting is that all the players are in the dark as to what's happening, allegedly, supposedly, and they have to improvise. If something is scripted or set up or planned, that means that it didn't happen organically. Am I wrong? What do you think? My feeling actually is that for entertainment purposes, it is fine if Critical Role does that, but at least hide it so I don't know. I don't want to see what's behind the curtain. By the way, I have no idea if it was scripted or not. It could be that Matt was making sure that there were consequences to a player acting recklessly, and that consequence ended up being in Bertrand's death. Anyway, we do get some more development on the subplots, which is what I call the backstories of the characters. We find out that Ashton not only owes a lot of money to people, but also was part of a group before where things went south. And we find out that the trio that arrived by airship is looking for someone who may be a friend or friendly, at least some sort of contact. By the way, I know I said last time that I was disappointed that Laura Bailey didn't have a more dynamic character because I love her role-playing, especially over-the-top characters, and Imogen seemed kind of bland. But now she's growing on me, especially since it finally clicked what her odd accent and voice reminded me of. Carol Burnett's character Eunice from the family skits in the old Carol Burnett show.
Eunice a nice big fat 12, because Eunice wants her yellow men, because they're her lucky men. Come on, I want my yellow.
Now, I can't stop saying Carol Burnett when I see Laura Bailey. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this episode, and let me know what you thought of Bertrand Bell's fate. Until we meet again, may all the books you read and all the campaigns you play be blessed.
Sorry, I have it written down.
Jesus Christ, where is
just
that
pull,
hiding? Every time I come in here, I don't see it.
Oh, no!